Alright, well this is going to shake around for a little bit, but try to hold it steady. The pollen count is still very much alive down in the south, and this room has always been a little bit dusty, but hope that this fancy mask and eye protection can protect me from what I'm doing today. And what are we doing today, you might ask? Well, we're gonna clean a gun. So, now let me put this back in the corner where it belongs. And hopefully you can see my Glock and everything like that. Checking the chamber, there's nothing in there. So, pull back ever so slightly. Take that off. Put the spring. Let that fall down. Feels like forever since I actually cleaned any of this. It feels like forever since cleaning anything, mostly because it kind of has been. If you can't go out and shoot, it's kind of hard to have a reason to clean anything. But, you know, eventually I did need to do some cleaning. So, CLP. Gonna grab this, kind of hold it at the end. A little bit in there. And kind of hope that not too much of it gets stuck on the rag at first. But it goes around a little bit in there. But put a little bit on the rag. Try to keep from putting things too much directly in front of the camera if I can. And now gonna push this through. Kinda dirty, just a little bit. Do it the other ways around. These things are actually pretty thick cloth. Still a little bit. Let's see if I can use this bit of a corner right here. Do. See really quickly if we got anything in there. That time looked fairly clean. So, still got a little bit of cleaning fluid on the edge of that, but wipe off the edge of the barrel with that. Go ahead and throw few of those down. Do 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 do. That part is pretty good. It's not really anything right there. Now, yes, you're supposed to lubricate the barrel, but I'm not going to do that just yet, because that's just the way I do it. Sorry if that offends. This will probably also offend some people. But according to CLP stuff, it's not like other chemicals where you have to clean it, then wipe it off, and then oil things down later. It is just fine if you use a little bit too much, because whatever doesn't clean will lubricate. But kind of work the magic solution into this. A little bit right there. Now that's dirty. Still pretty dirty. Yeah. So I did have the opportunity to actually fire some rounds to make sure I haven't forgot how to pull the trigger or anything. It was obvious that I had spent some time without practice, which I believe the total was at least 2, almost 3 weeks without firing a single round. And yeah, it showed a little bit. Probably because I am still new to shooting. And, you know, it's a lot easier to break habits when they're brand new. But I didn't actually take any footage of me shooting. I kind of decided that, you know, I could shoot and take pictures and whatnot at another time, but I wanted to spend that afternoon just kind of having fun, not really worrying about shooting and capturing it on film and things like that. Just kind of a me day. It really was a mental health kind of a day, because for as long as a lot of people have been cooped up in their houses, you start to go a little bit stir crazy. And I kind of decided after a little bit that I needed to go and practice, yes, but also have that day that I could spend just not having to think about it, not having to worry about it, just shooting as though there wasn't a problem in the world. And if I can, I may try to repeat that process at some point. Can't guarantee when I can do it, but if the lockdown of the country and shelter in place stuff continues, I may have to periodically go out and have mental health days. Because kind of a short background I have, and I guess you would call it mental health problem, which it seems like a lot of today, either the environment we have created has become more prone to causing mental health issues, that or maybe people have just become a lot more open with it because people are understanding about it. I also do think that there are some people out there that it will say, oh, I have a mental problem, but they don't actually have one. They just say it for the sake of it. And I'm not trying to say that anyone has to validate their mental health status to me or to anybody, unless it's a doctor, unless it's, something that, you have to have an actual medical diagnosis if you're going to get medication for it. So, if you have to prove it to those people, yeah, go prove it to those people. But I have a mental illness. It's not bad, and a lot of it is gotten better as I've aged, but it is OCD. And it centers around the concept, the idea of loss. So, you say loss of people, loss of what? A lot of it is about losing people in my life, whether loved ones or whether close friends. And then it actually will manifest into situations of I can lose little objects, and it actually will put me into kind of an obsessive state where I obsess and find it. Now, it was a lot worse when I was a child. When I was a child, I could lose my pencil and I'd freak out. I was also a very good student, by the way, so that didn't help. But as I got older, I've been able to mentally stop myself and realize, okay, this is a pencil, I can just grab a new one. However, the concept of losing a person has been something that, I don't think anyone has ever really gets over losing people. Maybe some people eventually just become so cold from death and disheartenment that they are completely broken from it. But I don't think there's a normal way that people finally just deal with loss as if it's nothing. So, continuing on after that aside, I have OCD. It centers around loss, and I've gone through periods in my life where I've had up and down moments of depression, and some of it was not even OCD related. It was actually in a relation of, after college, along with finding out that I had a thyroid issue, you go to school for however many years of your life, you get out of school, and a lot of what you did for the first part of your life, it's done and over with, and you have to move on to being what your job was supposed to be, or what you went to school for. And I think it was because the market I was trying to enter for a job, and talking about job market, not marketing, was already saturated at the time, and I wasn't going for a very plentiful position. So I didn't end up with a job the first or second year I was out of college. I did stuff here and there. Eventually I fell into kind of a really low state. And that persisted on and off for, pretty much 10 years, I'd say. But in September 2019, particularly September 26th, my father passed away, and that was kind of the traumatic loss for that year. Maybe one day I'll go into the actual list. That'll be a dark video. But he passed away, and shortly afterwards, like 6-7 hours after he had passed away, my mother suffered from a critical heart attack. We're talking like she had to have the number 6 stents put into her heart. Amazing doctor, did very well. I'm sure she's very thankful for it, and so am I. And it's kind of a point of God's mercy, because I'm not exactly sure where I would be if I had lost both parents at one time. I definitely don't know where I would be in this crisis. But that all happened, and that situation is actually what got me into shooting and doing firearms. Which, that's also a story that I've meant to tell but haven't told. Another video. And it's sort of a roundabout way to getting back to the beginning of what I was talking about. All sorts of mental health things start to arise even in people that might not think they suffer from it, or even have an issue with it. But humans, I don't think we're meant to be in confined spaces for very long periods of time. And unfortunately, that's what's happening with a lot of the world. But I think we will slowly get over this. It might take a while to get back to what we call normal. But this isn't how the world ends. Might be weird for a little while. We might end up wearing masks, kind of like the one I'm wearing right now, out in public for a little bit, which I've gotten to the point I have no problem with it, because, you know, I started the video wearing one, and pollen and stuff is still getting to me. But I finally got to the point in college, like around 2008, where I'm just realized I'm just going to wear a mask during pollen season when I'm walking around, because I'm tired of getting sick, being sick, doing something that is completely preventable by wearing a mask. Before, it was always a fear of people looking at me and silently wondering. Now I'm kind of like, whatever, I don't care. I'm going to breathe. But I really cannot stay on a single, subject. But life may be weird a little bit right now, but I think everyone needs to have sort of that mental health day kind of a thing. Not that every day you shouldn't make sure you're mentally healthy, but, you know, I think it would be lying to say that there aren't up times and down times, good times and bad times, and trying to tell somebody, you know, if you have mental health, you should make sure you're always happy every day, because there are going to be ups and downs. If there weren't ups and downs, you wouldn't know up from down. And getting on to the point of my father passing away, after, you know, having watched him go through what he went through towards the end of his life, watched my mother have to take care of him on a very extensive scale. Like, we're talking from a person that was perfectly fine taking care of themselves to needing help with most everything. And then, you know, the idea of him passing away was never really, it wasn't a thought in our heads, because we kind of got blinded to it with the sickness and stuff, because he got sick a lot. So, sort of blindsided us, and I sort of spent a lot of the rest of November and December, even into January and February, being really, really kind of in a bad mental place, because that time of the year in the United States, it's dark a lot. I say that part of the United States like I'm not still here. But I was longing for the springtime, even though spring is when my allergies kick in. Springtime 2020. Explain your cough. It is called pollen. And, you know, the light, quote unquote, at the end of the tunnel was longer days, I could actually go outside where the temperature was moderate and spend time shooting. But when all of this started to go into effect, I'm like, okay, I can get through all of this. I'll be fine. But as days went on and on and on, there was an event that came up earlier on in the week, this week. It was actually Tuesday or Wednesday, I think, and I'm not going to be completely open about it just because I don't feel like it at the moment. But it was a moment that kind of bothered me because I didn't get mad at someone that I loved. It was a very misunderstanding time between two people, and the fear of losing people, even though I know for a fact that this person would never leave my life. Sorry, hand over the camera there. I still suffer from, like, disappointing people. So I began to realize that being under lockdown had done a lot more to my mental health than I thought. And I was slowly realizing that even though most of February into March, I've been in a lot better headspace than I was at the end of the year last year. I still am not completely out of it, but I realized that I was slowly drifting back into what I was in before, and the thought was kind of terrifying. And it became a point of, okay, I need to do something one day for my mental health. Call it what you want. Say I did something I shouldn't have, but I had to take a day. I didn't actually go out in public per se. I just went out somewhere where I knew no one would be around, and I had a mental health day, because if I didn't have that mental health day, I was probably going to have a breakdown of some sort. And I say all of this realizing that there are probably other people in the same situation that if you can take days like that, then, you need to go and do something. Don't, disobey laws or mandates or good judgment, but do something for your mental health. Because it's one thing if this global pandemic ends up killing like 1 million people, and that's terrible. But if there are also people dying of depression and suicide, that's pretty much, in my mind, as bad or worse. Someone, I think on the news, said that the cure can't be more deadly than the virus. And I kind of agree with that sentiment. I agree with a rock? What? And hopefully we'll look back on this all in a few months and it'll be, a time that changed in our life. but perhaps what becomes of it is change for the better. Sharing something I don't share very often. I made 3 promises on the day of my father's funeral, pretty much the last time I ever saw his earthly form, his body, if people don't catch my subtle use of words. And one of those promises was to make everything worth it. And what that means is that nothing goes to waste. And that's kind of one of the reasons behind recording all of this and posting it on YouTube. Not because I really want to post stuff and put it out there necessarily, but I've learned stuff about myself. I've learned stuff about life, I guess. And albeit, yes, the ability to shoot a gun and protect yourself is a very easy application, you know. Well, you have it for self-defense. But I also want to use the experiences I've gained through it to help other people. Maybe not people in the same situation, but people that need that kind of help, that need somebody that can be coming from the other side of tragedy and tell them that it's not all right now, but it will get better. Putting a striker fire pistol back together, always make sure that your springy dingy is in line with the rest of your slide, because you don't want it not to be. Because bad things happen. What kind of bad things? I don't know, because I've always done it the right way. Easy way to get around that one, huh? Alright. This last little bit, you probably have watched the video and said, you did that already, didn't you? Maybe it's a little bit of an obsession, but I didn't feel like I cleaned it very well. But, you know, unless I start getting black off of the pieces of this from scraping too hard, I've pretty much cleaned everything, so. Gotta put it back together. As far as I'm aware, nothing else needs to be put back in there. Make sure everything slides on correctly. And pull it back. Yeah, all still seems to work. Glock 19. Field strip and cleaning with life moments. Brought to you by some food production company and by KO Incorporated. I don't know. Branding issues. Somebody fix them. Well, I hope that even if you didn't really care for the gun video, the talk in, around, and behind it was insightful, fun, or at least it was something to listen to in the background. But thanks for watching. God bless. We stick together. exercise your Second Amendment right.